These are good, decent, steady men that don't go around flipping people off or screaming "F you" at the top of their lungs. I suggest that you missed the Jay Carney story. That was a Jay Carney story.
I didn't use the word.
If I actually said the word instead, did I say the word? Yeah.
It's fine.
Okay,
apologize, move on.
So I repeated. So great apologies if I said the word instead of the letter. Now, Chuck Todd, I'm going to go get some soap.
Oh my God.
Woo!
So that really gives you a sense of just how tired we all were at all times.
I've got to say,
No F-bombs today.
the best part of that entire scene, and there weren't a lot for me, was Mike Barnicle's reaction.
Oh my Lord.
Which is just like
Poor
the
Mike.
SNL skit of us. The best part of that was when we go, Mike Barnicle, and guys going,
What I like the best is you proceeded as if there was still some question as to whether or not you said it. If I said it. No, you said it.
You said it. You said
well,
it.
you know,
We were
that's...
supposed to have a 7-second delay. I believe, Alex Gorson, were you at the helm?
No. That was for another one, where I said...
Oh, you messed another one up.
There was Halprin's where I said, get the 7-second delay ready. And so he pressed the button. It was like, it was Chopper 4 for the weather.
Man.
Yeah, exactly.
I bet TJ's fault.
It was TJ's fault.
TJ.
He mixed up the
What's
buttons
wrong with
and
you?
everything. All right, with us here in Studio 8H, we've got MSNBC political analyst and professor at the University of Michigan
He's so
School
astute.
of Public Policy, former Democratic Congressman Harold Ford Jr. Also with us, former chairman of the Democratic National Committee and former governor of Pennsylvania and NBC News political analyst, Ed Rendell. Ed,
the man who makes infrastructure sexy.
we talk about Donald Trump as everybody talks about Donald Trump, and all conversations are always centered around Donald Trump. And it makes too many people overlook the problems that the Democratic Party's having. And I always say all the time, I always go back to the DNC this year in Philadelphia last year, where you said, we Democrats have to do a better job of reaching out to working class Americans, and we're not doing it. And you told me privately, I'm afraid we're going to lose Pennsylvania if we don't turn this around. Here we are a year later. Donald Trump's had about as bad an 8 months as any president can have, and the Democrats are still struggling with a message. What do they do?
And figuring out what happened.
Well, I think we're struggling to such a degree. If the congressional elections were held next week, I'm not sure we'd make significant gains because we haven't found a message that makes sense. It's all about Trump, and the American people want to hear more than it's all about Trump. And we just haven't found our voice yet.
Well, and Harold 538 had an article yesterday saying that, yes, Donald Trump has lost support, but if the presidential election were held today, there wouldn't be a big difference in how the states fell. What do the Democrats do to take advantage of a pretty remarkable opportunity?
The governor's right. We continue to lack an economic message that appeals to a majority of everyday Americans.
Why is that?
You know, the Democrats put forward with the leadership a few weeks ago something called a better deal. I think it's been forgotten.
Well, actually, I think Arby's picked it up.
Right.
They're using it.
What's the better deal?
So, you know, the point is no one knows, and I think it's got to.
I mean, I'm
it's got to be
hungry.
more
It's good
coherent.
if you're
It's
selling
gotta be more
sandwiches,
pointed.
but not a party.
I'm more of a Popeyes guy, but I hear you.
I love Popeyes.
I hear you.
Popeyes. Willie?
But just let me finish this point, Joe. The Democrats.
I'm sorry, get
whenever
distracted on Popeyes.
whenever we talk about jobs and growth and mayor and governor, my first campaign working in college was for the mayor. I was in Philly. He was running his first term to be mayor of Philadelphia, and he had a coherent, poignant, very pointed economic message, and we just lacked one for the last few presidential term. As great as Mrs. Clinton and Secretary Clinton was, there was not anything that people could point to saying that's how I'm going to make my life better. This is not that hard. Our party has been at the center of all of these discussions for 50 years. We've got to get better here if we expect to win in 2018.
But that all sounds true, but the reality is there was just a report that came out that median income is higher now than it has ever been in about the last 10 years. A lot of that is coming from full-time employment. A lot of the things that President Obama tried to do over the last 8 years, he has accomplished. So I think the reality is maybe there's not a
But John, here's what.
There may not be a bumper sticker, there may not be a quick slogan, but the reality is I think Democrats have to go out and say the things that we sold you have come true. The things that the other cat is trying to sell you,
is that
a
really-
giant
is that right?
wall.
10 years ago was a crisis, so many people, I hear you, and there's nothing wrong, those numbers are absolutely right. But if you were making X in 2005 and you're now making 3/4 X in 2017, and that's better than it was in 07, you still find yourself skeptical, and you find yourself cautious, and frankly, you find yourself a little fearful.
And we're still in a system not to sound like Bernie Sanders, but it's the truth, where the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer, the middle class is getting squeezed. I mean, try to send your kid to college if you're a middle class American. The cost of colleges are exploding. The cost of health care is exploding. You can go down the line. And Willie, people are seeing slowly but surely the American dream slipping away. What their parents were able to do, what they were able to enjoy, the life they were able to live, that's out of reach for a lot of younger Americans.
And that's why Donald Trump's talking about a middle-class tax cut. So he goes out and intentionally says every time this is not going to be a tax cut for the rich, it's going to be for the middle class, the people who put me in the White House. And I remember those conversations we had in Philadelphia 2 summers ago, Governor, at the Democratic Convention. We sat in that bar. It wasn't just you. Vice President Biden came in and said on national television, "You're not talking to my guys in Scranton. You're not talking to my guys in Scranton," talking about Hillary Clinton. But there does seem to be this tension between sort of the Rendell-Biden wing of the Democratic Party and I would say the more coastal progressive elements of the party. Do you feel that tension, and which side prevails in 2020?
There is that tension, but there should be a commonality that links all of the Democrats together. The pro-life Democrats, and there are still some, and we ought to keep them in the party and nurture them. The thing that ties us together is we do care about working people, and that's been the theme that the Democratic Party's had for decades and decades, and it's been a winning theme. And you know, when you talk about issues like that, well, where were the Democrats on student loans? The Democrats were the ones, and President Obama was the one who shaved down the middleman out of student loans. That helps. We've just done a terrible job of messaging. And I went back and looked at the convention after the election was over. I thought the convention was great. We didn't have one speaker who dwelled on the economy, not one. We had speakers who said things about uniting us, and that was great. The messaging was good, but not one speaker talked about the economy. And we do have a message. I mean, we have a message. Combine that middle class tax cut that Joe talks about. No tax cut for the top 1%. Combine it with infrastructure and a gas tax increase. If you're giving a middle class family $2,500 in a tax cut, raising the gas tax $120 a year isn't so bad.
But Harold, you went to school in Michigan. You still go up there a lot. You actually were warning us. It's actually very interesting. At my son's wedding 2 summers ago, you were telling everybody around the table. You and Mika were the only ones saying it. You said Donald Trump's going to win. I'm not going to say this publicly. I'm not going to say
Nor
this.
was I in favor of it.
No, you were not in favor of it.
Nope.
Not at all.
Neither.
But you said Donald Trump was going to win, and you told us a week before the election, Michigan's gone. Trump's going to win Michigan. Again, in an article I saw yesterday, Donald Trump is actually bleeding a lot of support in red states like Texas, but he is strong, still stronger in Michigan. In Wisconsin, according to this 538 article, he's maintaining more support there. Why?
I went to law school there and care deeply about the state. Michael Moore, who's from there, also had the same opinion throughout the campaign that Trump could win and would win near the end. Again, it boils down to the message. I don't disagree with John. We've seen great progress over the last 7, 8, 9, 10 years.
Absolutely.
However, it is not translated into everybody in everyday lives. And a lot of people remember what it was like 12 years ago for them and look at where they are today. In Michigan, Democrats talk a lot about Flint and the water crisis there. Democrats aren't talking about it any longer. Why we don't make that a core part of an economic message? We're going to cut middle-class taxes. We're going to ensure that small businesses may not pay taxes for a year if they employ 100 people or less. Why don't we go back to the empowerment zones that Clinton introduced many years ago as we looked at communities that had a hard time attracting jobs and sustaining investment? At the end of the day, this is not that hard. and we make it harder. I think a lot of what we've done in politics on the Democratic side, even in special elections, is balkanize issues. We talk about rights for certain groups. We talk about issues that appeal to one group here, women, African Americans, the LGBT community. We've got to figure out how we unite this message, because if we don't, many Americans will tune it out. As much as they may agree with us on these individual issues, we have to have a coherent message. Clinton did it with "It's the economy, stupid." Obama did it with "Yes, we can." And I hate to say it, but Trump did it with "Make America Great Again," even if he stole it from someone else. We've got to figure out how we combine those two things
All right.
I think, to win again.
Harold Ford Jr. and Ed Rendell, thank you very much. And John Ridley.
Again. Thank you again.
This time, you don't. So we're
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.